So with the Wuthering Waves closed beta now finally over, we're back to waiting for an official release date, whether that's going to be the rumored May 30th, or if it's going to be longer over the summer, or even towards the end of the year before their license expire. We're all still going to be waiting for that announcement. But one topic that has crossed my mind in the past week or so is the growing community around Wuthering Waves and some early problems that I'm starting to see as different smaller groups have differing ideologies when it comes to Wuthering Waves and what it should be. And so I just kind of want to talk about the expectations of Wuthering Waves and really just how people should really temper them, because it's not going to be the game that you may think it should be. So first, let's talk about these two groups, because the Wuthering Waves community as it is right now, there's nothing really to go off of. There is no Wuthering Waves like centric, people just sort of spawned in and, oh, we're now Wuthering Waves people now. That's not how that works. It's, you have people from different gaming genres coming together to try out Wuthering Waves. You have non-gacha players, you have RPG, open world RPG players coming in, you have Genshin players coming in, you have PGR players coming in. All of these people from these different groups and their own different expectations are coming in to try Wuthering Waves. And when Wuthering Waves does launch, those people are going to stick around, and that will be the Wuthering Waves community. And right now we're seeing a lot of kind of push and pull between these different groups on what they think Wuthering Waves should be. And a lot of it sort of seems to fall into the direction of, you have on one side Genshin players making comparisons to Wuthering Waves and either wanting Wuthering Waves to be really good because they're jaded and they want Genshin Impact to fall, or they're really dissatisfied with Genshin Impact, so they want Wuthering Waves to be really good and basically be an improvement to Genshin Impact so that Genshin Impact can start improving. But the ultimate underlier behind that sort of mentality is that they just want Wuthering Waves to be a Genshin Impact 2.0. Just it's a better Genshin. You know, these people, they love Genshin Impact, but they have a lot of problems with it, and those problems aren't getting addressed. So here comes Wuthering Waves. It's kind of like Genshin Impact to them, so they want it to sort of fill that void. And you do see like some of the criticisms of, oh, the character designs are too bland and there's too much black and they're boring and they should be more, you know, flashy and showy and unique sort of thing, sort of like Genshin Impact characters. Or they question the use of the combat, the elemental system, and, you know, wondering why aren't there any sort of elemental reactions, you know, like Genshin Impact. There's a lot of comparisons of, well, Genshin Impact does it this way, why don't they do it that way too? Or why don't they kind of do it similar to Genshin Impact? Or why don't they do it, why don't they include this that's in Genshin Impact? You know, just a lot of comparisons, right? So you have that one group that's always constantly making those comparisons and either wanting it to be close to Genshin Impact or similar to it. And then on the other end, the other extreme, we'll say, you have a group of PGR fans or the Kuro game fans that are disappointed that Wuthering Waves isn't their ultra hardcore combat, you know, suffering get good skill fest kind of game. They're, you know, they are saying that it's, you know, too casual, it's too soft, or it's taken too much influence from Genshin Impact, and if you want it to, you know, be easy, go away and play that baby Genshin Impact game. You get comments like, no, the game's not ready, it's gonna be dead on arrival, it needs, you know, another year of work to be made to, you know, not be like Genshin Impact, to be more difficult, to be more hardcore. And it's just, you have these clashing expectations of something being similar to Genshin Impact, but an alternative, to something that's being basically anime Dark Souls and for sweatlords only, but nobody's really considering to think about, you know, what the Kuro devs have their vision for Wuthering Waves to be its own standalone entity, not a better Genshin Impact and not a open world PGR. It's not Genshin Impact, it's not PGR. Wuthering Waves is going to be Wuthering Waves, and I do think that players who are expecting it to be open world PGR or Genshin 2.0 are setting themselves up for disappointment. And that's not to say that Wuthering Waves doesn't draw influences from Genshin Impact and PGR and, you know, maybe Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Devil May Cry. They're certainly going to be pulling from a lot of inspiration and a lot of sources to make Wuthering Waves, and you could see those similarities throughout the game. There's just been a lot of noisy feedback that's highly subjective to one's own taste on whether or not it should be more like Genshin or PGR, rather than the more critical feedback that is more concerned with addressing core issues with the game's built-in systems. So hopefully the Kuro devs are able to filter out, or at the very least prioritize, the more critical feedback that will definitely influence the game's success, such as the echo system as it is right now. There are a load of changes that do need to be made. It is almost universally disliked by the player base in terms of its stat RNG, so that is a critical issue that they need to address, compared to, say, the world bosses that you're supposed to farm being too easy, or that the characters are too dull looking. So like those are more to, you know, personal preference. I don't think world bosses that you need to farm materials for over and over dozens and dozens of times to upgrade your characters, I don't think they need to be ultra sweaty fights. You're supposed to be fighting them multiple times per day, per week, to get your materials. And if you make each fight 5 to 10 punishing minutes, people are not going to do that. And then at the same time, the character designs, I think that is an aesthetic that Kuro is going for, and it matches their world, and that's just all personal preference, and not a critical issue that really needs to be addressed at all, to me personal. So there's different levels of feedback being made, and I think the less critical and the more subjective ones are strongly influenced by the desire to make Wuthering Waves appeal to either the PGR crowd or the Genshin crowd, to make it more similar to those respective games. And that's just something that I hope the Kuro devs are able to avoid, and that the growing and formulating community of Wuthering Waves comes to, you know, accept Wuthering Waves as its own standalone entity, and, you know, be able to enjoy it for what it wants to be as a mobile gacha game. So my biggest hope is that as the community begins to form and take shape, that people are able to come together and to avoid this needless gatekeeping on what game Wuthering Waves should emulate, and just enjoy it for what it's trying to be. That's not to say that there aren't improvements that need to be made to Wuthering Waves. I do have my own list of ones that I would like to see change, but more on the technical aspect of, you know, the gameplay loop. And I'll probably be making a video about that in the near future. I'm thinking about a video of things that I do like, and then some changes that I hope for prior to launch. So stay tuned for those in the near future. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when those videos go live. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching.